Okay, so my bad, guys. My webcam decided to break right before the show. But now we're good. So gonna be a short show. Not a whole lot of news as per the usual, which we'll talk about in a little while. And you're gonna hear double because my stream was not muted, but that's okay. So anyway, stay tuned. We're gonna be doing some doodling and some other mailbag and whatever else. I don't know. Just stay tuned to find out. Alright, hello, whoops, everyone, and welcome to the 95th, we are so close to 100, I can taste it, episode of the Chronicles of Tyria podcast, a Guild Wars 2 podcast for fans, by fans. I am lagywn, and I am joined yet again by the lovely, artsy, talented Saune.
Hello.
So, welcome. I'm excited for today's speed doodle. It's just, how does it taste, Alucardalina? 100. It tastes kind of raspberry-y, I would say, like a raspberry
Thank-
yogurt. Sorry.
Thank you, Alu, for asking that because, after you said that, I literally had to bite my tongue so I didn't interrupt you with, "What does it taste like?"
But anyway, I keep talking about dredging up an old Casey meme, but I didn't do that because nobody got back to me with the original image. That's okay. So we are not brought to you by any specific meme. If you are one of our loyal iTunes listeners, which I just recently found out how to check your reviews, so if you do listen to us on iTunes and you leave us reviews or 5 stars, last I checked, I think in America we are at 22 5-star ratings, or something like that. So,
Wow. That's good numbers.
Yeah, the other thing is, if you're a listener from another country and you post on our iTunes and you rate us, I need to know what country you are, because literally I can't see all of them. Like, I have to go change it from United States to Canada, then from Canada to England, then from England to Australia, and if you're in another country that I don't know speaks English regular, like, I picked the countries that I know are are English speaking, but if you're in another country and you listen to us, I have to pick your country specifically to see your review. So, I don't know, it's weird. It's kind of just how it goes with iTunes. But anyway, so be on the lookout next week for any missed iTunes reviews. We'll be talking about those. But first, we have some mail before we talk about the little bit of news that we do have. So I will start us off here. We've got, hello, A few days after the feature patch, my girlfriend saw me unlocking skins from Guild Wars 2. I was cycling between the wardrobe section of the bank and a preview window and a trading post window. She said jokingly that it looked exactly like I was playing dress-up game. I started explaining to her that there is more to the game than just collecting outfits. There are different modes like PvP and World vs. World. I talked about my legendaries, my titles, my achievement score. But then I took a good look at my screen, and after a few seconds of silence I said, but I guess it really does look like a dress-up game right now. I realize that the way I play the game. It's just a very robust and complicated dress-up game. Let's take a look at some facts. I maxed the armor crafting disciplines. Those are the only ones that I have at 500. The only things I buy from the gem store are outfits and armor skins. I have 90% of the skins unlocked. I constantly re-dye my armors. I change the hairstyle of my main character like every couple months. I think I finally came up with a concept for my first role-playing character. Hello, my name is Eduardo Fashionista. I am a tailor from Divinity's Reach. With thread and needle I create the most stunningly beautiful designs ever conceived. From now on I shall embrace my mission of making the world of Tyria the most stylish and trendy place in the universe. This is my story. The main Guild Wars 2 theme song plays in the background. With the rewards being mostly cosmetic in Guild Wars 2, I think we should all accept that we play a game that is mostly about dress up. Don't you agree? Eduardo from Mexico. Yeah, you pretty much hit the nail on the head. Guild Wars 2 is a game about cosmetics, and that's about dressing up. So, I mean, I did just spend a lot of time getting a precursor, and then a legendary, and a legendary is essentially just an accessory for you to dress up with and show off to other people. So really, I mean, I guess that would be my coach bag in real life or whatever, but now I have a legendary, so I guess it's like the same thing. I don't know, what do you think, Saune?
I pick games based on how pretty they look, so yeah. And back before they changed it, I'm sorry, I'm just catching up on Alaska's comments. Yeah, no, I am going into the PvP locker to try on clothing and stuff to make my new outfits. Literally would call it the dress-up game. I'm gonna go play dress-up now. That's literally what it is.
All right.
So yeah.
Well, I like I said, I mean, unfortunately, that's still not enough to get my wife to play. That it's a game about dress-up. I'm working on, you know what? I'm going Lego games. That's gonna be my in. Here's what I think. I'm hopeful that... You know what? I'm gonna spin off on a tangent because we don't really have much to talk about. So here goes. In a month, less than a month, it'll be the 30th anniversary of Ghostbusters. Okay?
Ghostbusters!
Which, if you know anything about me, you know is a big deal for me. And I will be out and going to movie theaters and dressing up and yada yada yada. But that's besides the point. The big deal is they just recently, Lego, if you don't know, Lego, the building blocks, the building toys, they have a website called Gw2, which is a crowdfund, like a fan kind of crowdsourcing game, or website rather, where people put up oh, this is what I built with Legos. I think this would be really cool if Lego made this a real Lego product. And a lot of the time they pick stuff that a lot of people vote for. Like they picked Back to the Future came out of that, and they made the DeLorean. And just recently, Ecto-1 and the 4 Ghostbusters was approved. So that'll be coming out in about a month or so. So the new thing that I've seen a lot of people promoting on Gw2 is Doctor Who based stuff. TARDIS, a full mock-up of the inside of the TARDIS itself, Weeping Angel, Dalek sets, etc. So my thing is, maybe if they make a Lego Doctor Who thing, then they'll make a Lego Doctor Who game, and then I'll get my wife to play it because it's Doctor Who and it's Lego. And then when she plays the Lego Doctor Who game, I'll be like, well, there's some other Lego game. And then that'll be like, oh, it's Lego Lord of the Rings. Well, there's other Lord of the Rings games. And I'll slowly work my way back to Guild Wars. That's my plan. So far,
Sun's now exposed all over the interweb.
she doesn't watch the podcast. I wish we have an extra viewer if she don't watch.
Why would she do that? It's only her husband.
She's just like, what, are you doing your podcast again? What time are you going to be done? I want to watch Frozen or something down here behind me. Whatever. It's fine. She just accepts it, that it's part of my life, and it's a part that she doesn't really quite understand. And she also lets me, record stuff multiple days a week.
With women.
With women.
It's
I have a show
not
called Lagywn the Ladies, so... and look at that segue. Speaking of Lagywn the Ladies, just a quick shout out to Dwayne Kinney and Emma Signorelli on Facebook, who both said in relation to the second episode, this is hilarious and love that intro. Love the intro. So thank you very much. Oh man, the mobile birds are pretty awesome. Alucardalina just linked them in the chat. Somebody built Guild Wars MOA birds on Lego Kusu, so that's something you could go.
Damn, that's crazy awesome.
Yeah, so you can hit, you can sign up for Kusu, you can hit support, and essentially the more supporters that they get, I think it's 10,000 supporters, gets it to go in, then it goes to the next step, and then it's on Lego to choose from that. But it's definitely cool to check it out, to go look in and see what's going on. Because a lot of cool stuff. I think that's how the Ninja Turtle series, that was a Nickelodeon-based investment, but I think that it might have originally started that way. And again, I know the Back to the Future DeLorean, I think the Lego Death Star, the full-blown Death Star, that was originally a Kusu project that they eventually made come to reality. So it's pretty cool stuff if you like Legos. And who doesn't like Legos?
Actually, I finally saw that movie somewhat recently, and it's awesome.
Everything is awesome.
Everything is awesome. Everything is awesome.
It's such a good movie. I love that movie.
And there's so many pulp culture references just for adults. Yeah.
Domsky, I think is how you pronounce it in the chat, says Guild Wars 2 questions. I've been reading rumors about a new race being introduced. What are your thoughts about that? What about Living Story Season 2? Any rumors for that? I'm so hanging out. I've heard this. I think I'm well on, I'm on the same page with you as far as the rumors go. Which is kind of something we're going to discuss in a little bit about the kind of silence from ArenaNet. And I don't think it's an intentional thing. And I know they've specifically stated they just released the game in China, so a lot of people are heavily focused on making sure. And I still don't even think the Chinese release is out of Head Start yet. If you pre-ordered it, just a little background: there was 1 million pre-orders on when the game was released in NA and North America. 1 million pre-orders were put out, and that got you the 3-day Head Start. In China, there were only 500,000 pre-orders, and they got a 15-day head start. So it came out last week, so I think it's still in head start mode at this point.
There is a tournament ongoing, though.
Is there? In PvP?
Yeah.
Okay. And yeah, I saw an image somebody put up the other day of the queue times for World versus World and Eternal Battlegrounds. The person that was looking to go in had 893 people in front of them to go into Eternal Battlegrounds.
Oh,
But to answer your question about a new race being introduced, I would absolutely love that. But I really honestly don't think that's going to happen, just because how much stuff they put into the feature pack. I feel that's a feature pack release, possibly. It could be content depending on how you want to argue it, but it's a pretty big deal, and if they ever did decide that they wanted to do an expansion, that's expansion worthy material.
Yeah, I would prefer that as an expansion thing, because then it also gives you a marker, and how the world would change, just kind of faction zones versus prophecy zones, and I'm totally talking out of my ass right now, because I haven't gotten that far into this one, but...
But No, I mean, and you bring up a good point. But they would have to, if you think about what is like one of the only things that happens with choosing a race affects your armor, basically,
Mhm.
what armor you can wear, your cultural armor, which would, if they follow the same path, means they need to have 3 tiers of cultural armor for heavy, medium, and light armor, which means they would need to make that for all those characters. If those characters are a true new race, the armor should look different. Like all the existing armor skins in the game should look different on them versus every other class, unless they kind of do the Norn human Sylvari cop out where they all look exactly the same.
But then what's the point of making a new race?
Right. So I mean, so that's a lot of work in and of itself, right there. But then you got to figure levels 1 through. I was gonna say levels 1 through 30, but even it might be levels 1 through 40, because you have your first 10 levels of your personal story, then you have your next 10 levels of your personal story. Then you choose an order, but those first like 10 levels of order missions are specific to your race. So there's really about 30 to 40 levels of race-specific personal story that they would then need to put into the game. And it brings up the whole other issue of everything that happens after that is the pact, and
Mhm.
that whole side of it. If this is a brand new race coming into the game, would they be in the pact? Because they weren't for everybody else, because this is going to be presumably taking place after. So then would they need to develop an entirely new personal story from 1 to 80 for these new races? And then you run into the people complaining like, oh, well, I want to play this new personal story, now I need to play a new character because my character that I made as a human can't play through that 1 to 80 because, you know what I mean? I'm not saying that will
Yeah.
happen, but there will be people complaining just because it's the nature of an MMO.
What do you mean? Don't complain? What the hell? This is the internet, man.
Alaska says, we're going on almost 3 years. Could you say the feature pack merely changes how you play the same content? I think we really need a new continent. Yes, but to go back, we'll get to that in a second. To go
We're
back
not
to
3 years yet, though.
almost is what it's saying. I mean,
We're barely like 2.
we're almost 2 actually. But I mean, regardless. As far as a new race goes, I'm gonna jump on the bandwagon with everybody else and say I think Tengu should be the new race that's introduced. But there's a flip side to that argument. If you had the art book that comes with the collector's edition of the game, it flat out says in there that they were planning on introducing Tengu at launch of the game, but in an effort to bolster, and this is arguable here, in an effort to bolster the personal story and the focus on the other 5 races, Tengu were cut. Now, whether that actually, like, how much work was actually done, and I mean, if anything's evident by the final boss of the game, they should have taken some more time. But they wouldn't just throw out all those assets if they already had started working on Tengu. I'm sure they're all still in game. But the other side of it is, how cool would it be if they just introduced like a brand new race, like one we don't even know about at all, like a totally new race, not Largos, not Tengu, not Kodan, not Hylic, just brand new we've never heard of, and they just like pull one out of nowhere, and you're like, what is this?
They can do that though.
I know,
now.
so I'm saying, like, how crazy would that be?
Yeah.
Like, that would be. You want to talk about bringing people back into the game?
Mhm.
Brand new race that like completely unheard of.
Yeah, and then bring in all sorts. Well, because we're already heading into a new and essentially explored area, an area that's been neglected for many, many years, centuries even, as far as we can tell. And this is turning out horrible. And so it's very easy that there could be races in there that we have never encountered or are aware of, even from Guild Wars 1. And it would give them a new avenue also to explore how to release the lore with respect to such a momentous event, really. Because, I mean, they introduced the racial lore for the main 5 through their books, Ghosts of Ascalon and Destiny's Edge. So how are they going to do that? Would they release a 4th book I would actually be excited for that.
Yeah, more books would be, or just, I mean, this is something that so much, you guys in the chat are making my life so easy, so this is great, by giving us stuff to talk about. So many other franchises have, not just like, Guild Wars has 3 novels, but like there's so many other ones that have like little tiny like also be something cool, especially with the amount of awesome concept art that is in Guild Wars, like a 6-it mini issue that tells like Logan Thackeray's story after he left the end of Edge of Destiny and before you start playing the game, or you know what I mean, like something. I obviously don't want to read that. Please don't make that. But you know, I mean, make something better. But you know what I mean. They could do something like that. It doesn't have to be full-blown novels. To just give us like supplemental content in some form or another.
Well, yeah, because I mean, okay, I work at a bookstore right now. Our bookstore is very, very, very small in a super cheap ass mall that pretty much is only full of seniors because it's also one of the very few bowling alleys in the city.
Okay.
So, our fantasy section is very small. Our games book section is very small. It still takes up 5 rows.
Mm-hmm.
That's huge.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, cookbooks. That's 8 rows.
Mm-hmm.
So our section for things like Forgotten Realms and Warhammer 480 and Dungeons and Dragons, those 3 consume half as much as the fucking cookbooks.
Mm-hmm. I mean, listen.
In a backwater freaking bookstore. So, like, if they would open it up to other authors to be able to write within the Guild Wars universe,
Mm-hmm.
oh my god, it would just. I mean, I think that's why World of Warcraft was so popular too, is because they also did that. We have a lot of WoW books as well.
Mm-hmm.
Is you let people make it into a thing.
Yeah. No, I mean. I mean, I'm an avid Dungeons and Dragons player, and there are ungodly amounts of comic book series. Like, there was a really great series that they stopped making, which is stupid because it was the best Dungeons and Dragons series I've ever read. But there's like 4 or 5 like ongoing series right now, and some of them are just absolute crap. But they're there. Like, there is content to read because the universe is so big. And if you think about Dungeons and Dragons, and again, not to get off on too much of a tangent, that is a game and a world based on you coming up with stuff for it. Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? There's some lore, obviously, with the gods and the way things work in that world, but like the primary avenue of that is for people to make it up, and then people made it up and made it into stories that they wrote out, and then they published them, and it's like Drizzt the Drow. Pretty popular. A lot of people know who he is. But I mean, that was a guy's character. You know what I mean? Like, or you know. So anyway, back to Domsky's question before we can move on to the other ones. What about Living Stories Season 2? I think it would be cool if we got more introduced to the Tengu. Perhaps like we start expanding into new maps. Kind of like the rollout that we had for South Sun Cove, where like nothing was unlocked and we had to like fight to unlock the waypoints and stuff like that. But like maybe not all in a day. Like maybe it's like there's like a blockade and we have to work to take down that blockade, and like the next week then we knock down the thorns that lets us move to the next area. But like maybe a Tengu is the one who's like, I need you guys' help. We can't do this by ourselves or whatever. So that's how they slowly acclimate you to the Tengu and get them more involved in that, and then boom, brand new race that's completely unrelated. But anyway, Alaska said another heavy armor profession. Listen, I've been advocating for another heavy armor profession. Heavy armor profession with a medium health pool for I don't know how long. But again, I still fall back to my ArenaNet says they don't want to make another one because they feel they've hit all of the archetypes of fantasy. So I don't know. And bring the dwarves back. The dwarves are still around. There's not a whole lot of them, from what we gather. We know of at least one that's still alive. You've learned through the personal story and things like that. But they're in the depths. Presumably, if there's any left, they're still in the depths of Tyria fighting the destroyers. But
I
it
thought
would
they
be
were all stone, so a living stone then?
yes, they're all alive. Yes.
Okay.
You haven't played that far in Guild Wars 1, so you don't know. But yes, they all are living stone statues. That their life goal basically is to fight the destroyers until they are themselves destroyed. But there is one in Guild Wars 2 that you meet, and he's fairly significant in Guild Wars 1. And he's in Ara Path 3 or something. One of the Ara Paths, he's there. So, and you can actually meet him if you have the Derman Priory personal story. There's a mission where you interact with him because the Dredge want to destroy him. You have to fight to protect him. So, but anyway, sentient watchwork, that would be interesting. Maybe, I don't know. I feel like that's less likely than Tengu or Largos or a brand new race. And again, I've mentioned it countless times before. Oh, it's individual as well, Alu says. So, good to know. The mission with Ogden. But I would say that I've said this countless times and I'll stand by it yet again. I don't think you're going to get any of the other, I'm going to call them minor races, that have been introduced in Guild Wars 2 as a playable race. That means no Grawl, no Hylic, no Quaggan, no Skrit, no Kodan, no Ogres. I'm fairly confident that none of those, because they made them part of the personal story, and then the Kodan, and again, I still stand by the Kodan just from character customization. Like, what are you gonna do? They all look the same, male, female.
Yeah. And I can actually have another reason why Quaggan will never be, because the existence of the Quaggan is literally a drunken joke by Kotoi. I'm totally massacring his name.
It's fine.
Kekai.
Yeah.
There we go. He was the original head concept artist, at least for creature control and whatnot, before the living story started rolling out, and when we saw the change in the splash screens, that's pretty much when he left ArenaNet. But anyways, it's actually in the Making of Guild Wars book where he discusses the origin of Quaggan. He scribbled this thing on like a napkin basically, and he laughed and he called them poo bags because that's all that they were good for, making poo. Yeah. Quaggans will never be a playable race. They're literally a joke.
Yeah, and I mean the fact that Quaggan don't like to fight except for that one Quaggan in the personal story. And again, I Skrit because they're unintelligent if they're not in a group. So
yeah.
But anyway, moving on. Yet again, here I'll post the link right here. Every Wednesday, our webcomic is released on chroniclesoteria.com. No Gathering Tool Equipped is the name of the webcomic. We are getting back on track from a short break to the story of the webcomic. We had a couple of little gag ones in between there, but we're getting back on track. And if you were one of our lucky winners, then, be on the lookout because you're going to be showing up eventually. Sooner rather than later. Alucardalina says there's another Quaggan in Malcor's Leap. He fights you because he wants to get angry enough to fight something. I did not know that. Again, Lagywn the Ladies releases once a week on Tuesday. So that was the second episode just came out this past Tuesday. And oh boy, the third episode. That's going to be coming out this coming Tuesday. It's going to be interesting. That's all I can say. We have some very interesting talent, and they are funny, and lots of giggles, and you learn a lot about the inside of what goes on inside Chronicles of Tyria.
Which might not be a good thing, but
okay, yeah,
yay!
it's fine. So you posted these couple of things in the forums, and I think
Uh,
I kind of already said that
yeah,
basically.
yeah.
Um,
There was a forum post. I'll reiterate as I usually often do. Um, why is Alucardalina screaming no?
I think she means because of the stuff you're gonna learn in the upcoming Lag and the Legends.
um, yeah. There was a forum post entitled "Where's the new content state of the game?" Um, and the devs have said that they're really busy with the China release, and that's pretty much why they haven't said anything. So I think that they've seriously been distracted and haven't really thought of anything, which I think is odd because I would think that the publication marketing department would have, popped in and said something. But it's possible that they just don't even have a solid start date for Living Story just because they need to see what's happening with the China release first. And so, like, I mean, it's the same as how we had a whole bunch of hiccups with our release date. They need to, I think that they want to make sure that that's ironed out before they go releasing new content to China, because I have a strong feeling that the Living Story will be rolling out globally.
Yeah, they actually that I can actually confirm that they are not getting Living Story Season 1. They are starting with Living Story Season 2.
Yeah.
So when we get it, they're gonna get it. I'm convinced. And I wouldn't be surprised either if it happens after the world. This is something I've kind of thought for a while, that the World versus World season tournament that's going on right now will end, and then we'll get Living Story. But we'll see. So you put something else in here about support tickets, and I didn't get a chance to read that. So
yeah, that's the other major thing about all the dev tracker. Aside from that, one post is all about the support tickets.
Mm-hmm.
So what it basically said in short is anyone with an open customer service ticket, if you received an auto-generated email when you submitted your ticket, that means that your ticket is received and it's in the queue. The tickets are being handled hands-on, so there's no auto-running script or anything like that. They literally have staff having to go and look at your ticket and look at your account and look at your item and investigate everything on a person-by-person, case-by-case basis. There's why it's taking so long. And so you just don't go submitting more tickets because you'll just make the problem worse. Be patient. If you're really having trouble being patient, there are a multitude of posts on the forums that indicate like the status of certain ticket numbers. So especially if you're being antsy because, say, there's some erroneous behavior on your account, i.e. it's been possibly hacked or something like that. Yeah, there's tracker threads for that kind of stuff. And it takes a long time, and I've seen lots of complaint threads about how long it takes for those people who have lost their account and are trying to get it. They regained it, but it's been wiped out. Like everything's been sold and scrapped and etc. And they're trying to get their account rolled back to a certain date. Again, that takes a really flippin' long time because it all has to be done manually, like almost back to the old days of punch card programming manual. So just keep your panties on and be patient with them. They're working on it.
The other thing I can kind of speak to is I don't think they send you a message from what I hear. Like when they give, like you'll just log on and then you'll see that your refund is there. Like you won't get like a mail or an email. Like you just, oh, they refunded me. Okay, cool. That's kind of, so just keep an eye on that.
Yeah, and that's probably has to do with the fact that they're just so bloody busy right now. Because that seems like really, I don't know, unprofessional or something like that. But if they're just trying to whip them out, and the fact that they have to do them manually, that's probably why.
Next thing I will link here is something that you caught, and I actually seen it as well. The ever popular, legendary, that shaman of data mining fame. Um, he found that I guess he had done this earlier, almost 2 years ago, but he just put it up, and it is a like map of Tyria, the planet. So like high, like way far out, like zoomed out of the whole continent with all the land masses and things.
Oh, when I looked at it, I thought that it was player made.
It might be player made. I could have maybe I misspoke. Yes, it was handcrafted. You're right. But he was never able to complete it. But you know there are some images in game that kind of lend to that. So there's I think that's there's I like his 3D render of the globe. It's pretty neat.
Yeah.
But anyway, you can feel free to check that out. He's a pretty awesome dude, and he's actually been working pretty closely with Dolphy on a lot of things. He has my preferred version of the World Boss Tracker. It's one that he helped develop. So, let's see. We also, let me actually pull it up. Had just a little bit of stuff came out in the gem store this week. Were you interested? It was the fuzzy hats and the mini polar bear.
I did see those. I actually remembered to pop in this morning to take a look at those. The hats look really cute.
Yeah, I actually bought the Hylic one because I like the frog hat. And then the polar bear cub. The polar bear was a very highly sought after mini in Gw2, so it's kind of cool again in Guild Wars 2. It was a rare Winter's Day mini. And the Bloody Prince outfit, kind of again like we predicted, all of the outfits are cycling their way back through the gem store now that the wardrobe has been released. So maybe we'll see other things come back, like the bunny ears and the aviator glasses for those that didn't get them. They're also running a sale on the digital deluxe upgrade.
Until Mother's Day.
Until
Get your
Mother's
mom
Day.
addicted.
There you go. So that happened, and then the other thing we have is our, let's see, what did you put in here for the Craft Corner stuff?
Yeah, I gave you a choice.
Oh, I got a choice. Wow.
Yeah, it's not my fault you didn't look earlier.
I saw that there was two, I just didn't. I assumed it was the same thing twice, but that's okay. Let me see. I have options.
They're very obviously different links.
Yeah, but sometimes you get it posted on both. You know what? I have seen exactly what you posted on DeviantArt on Pinterest as well. So, there you go. But anyway, I will. You know what? Let's just link both. How about that? No way. This is something. If you guys haven't seen this, this is from. Oh boy, can you pronounce that name?
Ikaki no Yami?
Yeah. Which they actually have shouted out. Matt Visual and Wood Potatoes have shouted out this person. I'm gonna assume she has been developing a kind of webcomic series involving Matt Visual and Wood Potatoes sort of character lists, and has been kind of making an ongoing webcomic series about stuff that happens with them based on the podcast. I believe they're up to 4 issues now.
Yeah.
So you can check that out. It's on DeviantArt. I've also seen it posted on both Twitter and Pinterest by the Guild Wars 2 fan art accounts, so you can check that out. And the other one, which was on Pinterest here.
I have fallen into Pinterest.
Very cute Sylvari Fernhound by Doomed Dreamer. Here's the link. Yes, Saune just joined Pinterest this morning. So.
Yeah, you didn't waste any time to.
I got an email that said your friend has joined Pinterest. Like.
Oh yeah, that's because I joined with Facebook.
Yeah, so it said like.
I could
guess
keep
what?
this lazy.
Yeah, so I was like, oh look, she joined. We are friends now. So, there you go. So that's the cute Sylvari Fernhound, which is adorable. It kind of looks like a corgi hound, like a corgi Fernhound.
Looks like a palm.
Yeah, I guess that's more accurate.
Pomeranian. It's totally a Pomeranian or Chow, depending on the scale.
Either way, adorable.
Adorable.
So, yeah, that's kind of it.
Whee!
Well, I guess well, I should ask: is there anything that you specifically wanted to bring up? I do see the question of the week, so I will ask that. But I just wanted to see if you had anything you wanted to mention.
Nope.
Okay.
Nothing comes to mind.
All right.
That's why I write everything in the thingies, because I won't remember, including what my drawing of the week will be.
Mm-hmm. There's a story behind the drawing, folks, and we'll get to that.
It's not just gratuitous fan service. I would be using my own butt for that. There's a reason why it's this butt.
Anyway, so we do have a question of the week this week, and it is and we kind of already answered it, but let's hear your opinion. Well, what do you think ArenaNet is waiting for? So why hasn't there been any announcement? Even because this is something else. We realize that they're working on the Chinese release, and it's still in Head Start for about another week or so. But why not give us a date or something? Like, okay.
Well, or just say, hey guys, we're busy with China. Something.
I mean, they did, but it wasn't a formal post. It was a response to that one thread by like one dev. But yeah, a formal, nice on the main website. For those of you curious about the Living Story Season 2 starting, we want to say that we are heavily focused on making sure that the Chinese release goes off without a hitch. But in the meantime, we are still working. When we can free up resources, we are working on the Living Story Season 2, and they could make a blanket statement as much as like, we definitely won't see the Living Story Season 2 until after the World vs. World tournament ends. Not saying that you definitely will, but like that it will be at least after that. Like how they told us earlier that the feature pack would not be in June. They told us like flat out, the feature pack will not be released in June. It turned out it was released before then. We were all thinking it was going to be after.
Yeah.
So they could just say like, you don't even worry about it for another whatever it is 3 weeks until the World vs. World season ends, and then that would be that. But
yeah, it's like we aren't even demanding content, just answers.
Yeah, I mean, like, they could even, again, as bold as to say, the earliest you would see Living Story Season 2 would be September.
Yeah.
I would just, that would give me something. And it'd be like, oh, okay, well, now I know we're going to have short shows with not a whole lot to talk about between now and September.
Well, and then we can focus on other things. Or, hey, I can actually, maybe I should start making some other goals for myself instead of starting them and having to, like, give up on them because Living Story is like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
You gotta go do the Living Story.
Yep. I know. You're right.
So.
That would free me up to play other games if I wanted to. That would allow me to be like, oh, I guess my goal for right now would be to get to rank 50 in PvP, or it would be to unlock all of the heavy armor chest pieces. You know what I mean? That kind of stuff. But I guess we'll have to wait and see. So, what question of the week is, what do you guys think they're waiting on? Why aren't we getting any kind of announcement? And when do you think we'll see the Living Story start? What's your opinion? I've given mine that I think it won't be until after the World vs. World season ends. Saune, what about you? When do you think?
The China thing.
Yeah?
That was what I said. Yeah.
Okay. So we would love to hear what you guys have to say. Unfortunately, Saune, I think we're going to have to cut you short on your doodle here.
I know, I'm just post-rendering because, yeah, that's fine.
Alaska says, don't worry, Lag, you'll always have Ghostbusters and Legos. You're right. I always will. In fact, I just ordered a brand new soldering iron so I can put together more stuff. I got,
I just found horrible anatomical errors, but that's okay. Carry on.
See? Here's a nice sound chip that I've been working on. I gotta finish up. This is for to upgrade my proton pack. This bad boy's got, see that? That is an MP3 in, man. I can hook up my iPod and play music out of my Proton Pack. Because I don't need that, but I can do it if I want to.
It makes you all the cooler at the con.
I know. Well, see, look, and I wired my my volume potentiometer on the inside, so I can put this in the back of the Proton Pack and adjust the volume without having to like resolder anything.
Smart.
Yeah. So.
And we just lost half of our audience with that tech talk.
That's all right. You know what? It's been jumping back and forth tonight. The view count isn't really been accurate in Twitch. That's okay. I am gonna make sure to put your image as the like. You have to send me or I'll pull it off DeviantArt, and that'll be like the picture for the thumbnail for the video for the podcast. So just to
I'll give you a zoom.
There you go.
Zoom of just that.
We'll just post that right up. And Alucardalina, we are exploiting you for views. So Saune, would you like to talk a little bit about your drawing?
This is the Let's Lore episode that is coming out
tomorrow. Tomorrow.
Yeah, basically, Alucardalina discovered a new way to distract her enemies. Which kind of involves walking backwards at them with her insanely short skirt. So, of course, when we started teasing, we were all laughing about that and came up with this idea that she's literally, like, slightly bent over, showing her panties moonwalking at the enemies. Like, I got this, guys!
Yep.
Moonwalk!
This is what you guys miss if you don't watch the Let's Lore, and then it only intensifies for lagging the ladies, believe me.
Yeah, because we already start getting really giggly and have totally lost all of our seriousness by the time we get to lagging the ladies.
And then we bring in May, and it just gets nuts. To answer, Alaska, your question...
Oh, sounds like show and tell.
So, here's the entire collection for the Saturday morning cartoon DVDs, Real Ghostbusters, right here, cartoon. I'm a huge fan of the Real Ghostbusters cartoon. Huge part of my childhood. I had every single action figure. I still have some of my action figures kicking around here somewhere. Also, if you haven't seen it, it got a lot of bad press, but the Extreme Ghostbusters was a cartoon, a second Ghostbusters cartoon that came out years later. Egon's the only Ghostbuster left, and he's training a new team of Ghostbusters. It got a lot of bad press, and I feel like it missed the window of being like a good return to a cartoon by like 2 years, because like it came out in like the late 90s, and then like early 2004 you had early 2000s you had He-Man cartoon came back, you had the new Voltron, you have the new Thundercats are out now, you had the 2014 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle series, which was fantastic, and then like Ghostbusters is just like, it just missed the bus by like 2 or 3 years, and it makes me sad because it could have been so much more. But I digress. Make sure you watch the I can't remember the name of the episode, but there is an episode where all the real Ghostbusters come back, and like they're going out for Egon's birthday, and they like are out bowling and busting ghosts, and the new guys are all sad because they're not as good. But anyway, it's like a 3 or 4 part episode. It's really good. But anyway, so
super digression away.
Yeah. So I think that's pretty much it. Be sure, if you want to know more again about the lovely picture of Alucardalina's characters, but be sure to tune into the Let's Lore that'll be going up tomorrow morning on our YouTube channel. And for even more silliness, check out Lagging the Ladies on Tuesdays. So, all right. Well, unless you have anything else that you want to say, Saune.
No.
All right.
But.
All right. Well, for the 95th episode of the Chronicles of Tyria podcast, I'm Lagywn.
And I'm Saune.
And we will see you next time.
I forgot my dancing dude.
That's okay. Yeah, we just got the music now, so you have plenty of time.
I forgot where I put them.